So this is the thanks I get for working overtime.
Welcome to Summer Showcase. We have expanded the series. This is Summer Showcase Overtime. I have my co-host Zach Bronkhorst, who's actually a starting quarterback in the ELF for the Milano Seamen. Zach, thank you so much for joining me on this awesome little show that I got here. And you're my favorite Angelo State Ram. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So I'm glad you're here with me. How are you? How are you, my man?
I'm doing good. It's a little late over here in Milan, but I mean, my sleep schedule is already messed up as it is, so we're just gonna roll with it. So it's a pleasure to be on, and I look forward to kind of giving a preview for the exciting year that I think is ahead for the ELF.
Yeah. So this is year 4. You are with Milano, which is going into year 2 in the ELF, but the franchise has been around, or the organization has been around for a little while now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's that experience been for you? Like, let's just get a little formalities out of the way here. How's that experience been for you so far with them?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, it's always there's a little adjustment period when you come over to Europe as an American, especially when you're not vacationing and you're actually living here full time.
Hmm.
There's always going to be a little bit of adjustment period, but for the organization, they've opened me with open arms. Luke Zaraka was the quarterback here for a long, long time and led them to great success. And I have nothing but respect for what he did here. But I mean, they decided to go a different direction and new era, along with the ELF new era that they're in. And I'm excited to try and turn this franchise into a successful European League of Football franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. And Luke's over in Frankfurt now, so you guys will end up facing off against each other. That will be a very interesting and fun matchup to watch, I'm sure, for sure. So I have a question, Zach, and it's going to start off with as a I think it's the question that I think every year ELF teams are going into, and that is, how do you contain or try to stop or slow down, the two major powerhouses in the Rhine Fire and the Vienna Vikings? I mean, on paper, you would assume that they're the two favorites to win the ELF championship again.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be a year where fans can really see a more well-balanced league. Of course, in my humble opinion, it's Ryan Fire versus everybody. They're the defending champs, and they've got the MVP on their team. They've reloaded. They have lost some pieces, but they're ran by a great organization. They're backed by a great city in Dusseldorf, and yeah, they've reloaded, and it's really going to be them versus everybody this year. Everybody's just trying to catch up to them. I do think, though, that this is going to be a very, very well-rounded year around the league. There's more talent than ever. Vienna is a great organization, but I mean, you've got Rosloff sneaking up on them. They've have a great organization over there. And then, I mean, in the West Division, I mean, you've got the Bravos now. Paris looks outstanding on paper. We'll see what it turns up to like during the season, but on paper, they're a really good team. So I think there's just going to be a lot of battles this year. And you can't never forget about Frankfurt. They've never beat the Fire in the ELF, but I'm sure that they're gunning for that, especially getting Markel Castle and Luke. That connection for the Seamen back in the IFL, the Italian League, was just one for the ages. So I'm sure they're just going to try and replicate that success and get one over on the Fire. So.
Yeah, and like I said, I agree with you wholeheartedly that I feel like that the talent level is much more balanced this year amongst everybody. Obviously, Chris Helbig, who was very successful last year with Vienna, is now with Madrid, who's the expansion team, the franchise this year, and Zach Edwards in Paris, like.
Mhm.
Zach Edwards, everybody knows Zach Edwards, where his status is amongst ELF greats, and last year, obviously being the expansion team, it didn't go the way that they expected it to, but I expect leaps and bounds from that franchise this year for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the Bravos, you can just tell through social media that, I mean, they've got great organization already. They've got some outstanding facilities. And they brought in Mahoganu, probably the best European receiver in the ELF. So, I mean, it's going to be a crazy year.
Yeah, Mahogany was a great pickup from Madrid, and that's going to be a great little 1-2 punch with Zach Edwards for sure. Because I really enjoyed watching him play last year, and Quofi for Ryan signed
Mhm.
a 3-year deal. He was the first, I think it was the very first player ever in ELF history to have a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
So that's big news as far as the ELF landscape is concerned, and shows the growth amongst this league.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once you start talking multi-year contracts, and that's when you can tell that the growth of the league is kind of headed upwards. And I believe that this is kind of here to stay. Now we just got to work on getting a team outside of Germany into the championship game. I mean, Vienna's been there, but Austria and Germany are pretty much the two American football elites over here. So maybe we'll get Paris in there this year. Maybe we'll get Roslaw. We'll see. I mean, there's talent everywhere, but I mean, it's just kind of for right now. It's just been centered in Germany and Austria, but I really hope that it expands.
I don't see any reason why we can't get Milano, to be honest with you. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Sam. Sam, he's joined us here tonight. Sam, what's up, man? Thank you again for giving us a platform as far as the Shady Sports Network. Go over to YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. If you're joining us today for some ELF talk, I'm here with Zach Bronkhorst, my co-host for this show. I'm so excited for it because I love talking football, man. This is great. So, I was hoping you were going to hit me back up, or you were going to hit Sam up after our interview for sure to do this, because I think this is going to be a lot of fun this season for sure. So
yeah, I can't wait for mid-season game recaps and stuff like that. It's always fun to kind of look back at the action that happened the previous week and talk about it, make predictions. So I'm excited.
And this is a little more of a preview show as far as the upcoming season, what we're looking at, favorites, things like that. And you said you had some news before we came on, that a lot of, because it was final cut down roster day or this week or whatever. Why don't you go ahead and give me some of that news, and we can maybe talk about a little bit about that if you have that.
So today was registration day, so all players on the active rosters for the ELF had to be registered. So we got all of ours in today. But there were some major, breaking stuff that happened today. For the Panthers, they re-signed Daniel Bender because it looks like Matt Cole had to go onto the IR, their big receiver that they signed this year. It doesn't look like they released him. They put him on the IR, so it looks like they're expecting him to come back at some point. Daniel Bender, he did play for them at one point. I think it was last season, maybe before Tony Tate. He's from Western Illinois, played for them before. So, I mean, I'm sure he'll step in and do a good job. But I know there's a lot of excitement around the Matt Cole, Stephen Duncan connection. So I know that comes as a kind of a bummer for Panthers fans that they might have to wait for that one to come around. Another one, I don't want to butcher this first name, Farad McCombs, I believe, DB for the Tyrol Raiders, who we're actually playing this week. He's out for the year. He had it looks like they released him today. There was an injury that happened during camp. We hate seeing injuries that happen during camp.
Oh, I hate it.
So they released him today. And then I believe I saw on Twitter through the grapevine that they pulled up an American from the Swarco Raiders, their AFL affiliate. I don't know if that's a long term. I've heard that they're looking for more of somebody to come over from the States right now, or maybe the Mexico League, the LFA, whenever that wraps up. But for right now, yeah, it looks like that might be what they're heading in with. We'll kind of see on Saturday. I'll be the first one to find out, I guess, whenever. And then last one, the Ravens. I believe it's Etoile Louis. They have a defensive end. He's from New Zealand. He was put on the IR as well, which stinks for them. I know he spent some time last year on the IR, and he was in the IPP at one point, a really good defensive lineman for them. So that stinks for them. But they did sign Giovanni Nangai. He played for Paris last year. Yeah, so they did sign him. So I know he might be like Ravens fans. I don't know if he's on the level that Etoile was, but I mean they did try and get a replacement in there quick. So yeah, that's kind of some of the news that I saw circulating around today. I know you're a Panthers fan.
I am.
So yeah, if you want to give us some immediate reaction to the Matt Cole news.
Well, obviously I'm disappointed. I actually interviewed Coach Dave Christensen not too long ago, and we got talking about his experience over there, and he said that heading into this year, this was the first year that he really got a chance to kind of scope it out and like actually put his team together, because he said that he didn't know what the hell he was doing last year, and he kind of felt much better about this squad. So obviously the Steven Duncan and Matt Cole connection is obviously is postponed at this point in time. But I'm excited for Bender, because I think Bender still brings in a talent level that's good enough to be able to be a more than suitable replacement while Cole's hurt. So as a Panthers fan, I'm obviously bummed about not seeing this Duncan Cole connection. But hey, if we can stay afloat and win some games heading into the playoffs, maybe we'll get him back healthy right when it matters the most.
Yeah. They got a great staff over there. Coach Landa, the OC, Coach Chris, he's been with Coach Christensen for a long time. I know they've got a great system over there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do with all that talent. They got the two-headed running back system with Kennedy Adams, I believe, coming over from Potsdam, which is also kind of controversial considering he's played in the U.S. for a long time. So I saw some people kind of griping about that. I'm excited to see it because, I mean, he's a great running back, and so is I believe it's David, correct? The one that was last year?
Dawid. I'm going to butcher his last name. Brzezinski, I think, or
yeah.
But he was averaging like for a good chunk of the year. Before Matthew Vitale got hurt, he was averaging like almost 6 yards a carry. Like at one point in time, he was just a straight workhorse for us last year. So I'm glad that they brought another running back in to kind of alleviate that a little bit, because workhorse running backs don't really last as long, and we need a good running game if we're going to be able to try to make a push here. So.
Yeah. We took one of y'all's linemen in Murillo Machado. He's a great guy. We're taking great care of him over here. But he spoke nothing but high things about him and saying how fun it was blocking for him last year. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Excited to see him in year 2 for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean now he has a quarterback that he can have fun blocking for over there in Milano, and with you for sure. So. Do you have a little bit of preview of your team?
Yeah, I mean, we're the only ELF team this year to have went with an American running back, so we're kind of straying away from the norm. I know in the early years of the ELF it was pretty common, like Cologne and Berlin. They had some great American running backs. I mean, I can't remember his name, but he ran for like 2,000 yards in like the inaugural season, I believe, and won MVP. So, but it's a much different league now. Defenses are getting better. We've went pretty heavy on the Brazilian side. We do have 3 offensive linemen that are Brazilian. They're all experienced players, though. I've been extremely surprised at the level of talent that Brazil has to offer. We also have a D lineman named Gabriel from Brazil. He played in France last year, and he's just a workhorse. And Zachary Blair has been on record saying that he's just so excited to play behind him because he believes that that's one of the best D linemen he's ever played with. And coming from a guy like Zachary Blair, that's a huge deal.
That's huge.
So we're excited. Yeah, I'm excited to have the connection with Patrick and the run game, and then Juan Flores Calderon coming in year 2. He's still young, and he's just trying to, show that he's a mainstay on the European receiver kind of scheme of things, and that he is one of the top dogs. So he's at a great camp. We've had a solid camp. It's always a give and take, especially when your head coach is the defensive coordinator. He's always gonna. He likes to end on a good defensive note, so sometimes that's bittersweet. But yeah, we're excited. We're excited for year 2 in the ELF as a franchise, and I'm excited to see what Europe has to offer. I know it's going to be great talent across the board, and yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, so any of the viewers out there that haven't watched anything as far as the ELF is concerned, or hasn't followed on social media or whatever, there is a lot of talent, overseas that are considered homegrowns or European imports, whatever it may be, because a lot of these leagues have been around for a couple of years at the lower levels, quote unquote lower levels, because the ELF is now kind of like the NFL of Europe, and the German football league, the Austrian football league, like a lot of these leagues have been around for a little bit. It might be the reason why the German teams and the Austrian teams are, so solid every year, primarily because it's in their blood. Like the GFL's been around for, they have 3 different versions of the GFL, so
Yeah. They've been playing football since the 40s, I think, or like 50s. Like whenever the U.S. was occupying Germany there for a little while after World War II is when football really picked up, and I believe it's now like the second most popular sport in the country behind like football, or soccer for American viewers. So last year the championship game was a sold out like soccer stadium. It was incredible, and it's expanding all over Europe. Your Panthers already have 11,000 pre-sale tickets sold for that first game.
I saw that. Yeah, that's incredible,
so
man. It's incredible.
It's expanding like crazy, and I'm here for it. I love it.
You know what I love about it the most, and it's one of the things that one of the primary reasons why I wanted to do a show like this on Shady Sports is I really wanted to get recognition for what is going on over there, because you see the NFL when it goes over, and I know the NFL is the NFL, but you see the fans, you see how much they embrace the game, how much they love it, and it's like there's American football going on over there. And there's some good talent and good leagues happening. So I wanted to bring awareness to Americans for it, but I also wanted to do it for the American players over there. You guys don't get the recognition. You know what I mean? Like, you guys go over there, you bust your tail because you love football, and you don't really get the recognition over here in the States. You could probably walk down to a Walmart and nobody's going to know you're the starting quarterback for a team. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to do it for everybody, because I'm always about the players, man. Like, I really appreciate you guys going out there and putting your bodies on the line for stuff. I mean, I never got the chance to, because I come from a smaller state or whatever, and would have never got the recognition. But regardless, it was I have to show my appreciation from my end. I got to do my part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I know there's a bunch of guys that used to play and are now retired, or trying to just get the brand to raise the brand up. There's a few podcasts popping up now. I know Jamal over at Athletes Forum. He's doing a great job. I got to interview with him as well, and I talked to him on the phone and stuff. And then Alex, he writes articles for the ELF, and he does some stuff on Twitter, and he does a great job of getting player recognition and trying to get the name out there in the United States. And they got the ELF live show now with like Silas Masita and Nick, and people tune into that like crazy now. And it's been cool seeing them build up this season through that show by getting players on and doing real interviews. And it's just been really cool to see and be a part of. And certain teams do get a lot more recognition than Milan, but we went 2-10, so I understand, and we've got a lot to prove this year. So it's exciting though, for sure, across the league.
It's always a learning curve when you step up in competition too. So I feel like Milan moving into the ELF, obviously there was going to be a rough start for the most part. When I did my little preview write up last year and did my first show, I mentioned that it was potentially going to be a long season for some of the expansion teams. So I don't expect it necessarily as much with Madrid this year, but I still feel like Madrid's probably going to have a steep learning curve because of the amount of talent that's already been there, especially with some of the more established teams and whatnot. But I'm just excited that they got Chris Helbig, to be honest with you, because
like, that's a good grab for them for sure. Just like an ELF experienced quarterback like that, that's going to eliminate that learning curve immediately.
Yeah, and especially he was a good leader last year too. I felt like with Vienna, so I had the pleasure of interviewing him as well mid-season. So, and for Jamal too, like bringing awareness to the ELF too. I love the guy. I had a conversation with him. He was on my show last year as well, and it turns out we have a Maine connection. He went to UMaine, so and lives up here. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure.
So once a black bear, always a black bear, as they say. So
okay.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that, but yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Well, you're an Angelo State Ram, so I'm sure it's once a Ram, always a Ram, right? That's how it is.
Yeah, that's what they like to say.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Zach, let me. I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick with something. Taking Jadrian Clark out of it and taking yourself out of it, out of the remaining quarterbacks in the league, who would be the MVP frontrunner early preseason?
Well, I've heard a lot of, Ben Holmes rumble. He was in the same conference as me. I actually got to watch him play. I wasn't the starter yet at Angelo back in 2019, but my good buddy Payne Solons was. Shout out Payne. But we played Tarleton at Tarleton their last year at Division II. So he had a great group of players over there, and he had an outstanding senior year for the Tarleton, whatever they are. I don't like the university. They're one of our rivals. So, but he had a great year, and then he went on to the USFL and the CFL. I know he was with the Argonauts for a little while, and now he's making his way over to Vienna. That's one of the best organizations in all of Europe. They've already won the ELF championship once. I know they're trying to get back there for sure. So I would definitely have to put him up there. And then Riley Hennessy as well with the Stuttgart Surge. I know he was kind of contemplating retirement after the past season, making it to the championship game, but the supporting cast over there on top of his talent is incredible. They've done a great job bringing players in, especially on the defensive side. Just looking at them in the future, it's going to be a tough team for sure. So those are two guys for sure. And then I guess I'll round it out with a third. I'll probably go Levi Lewis with Barcelona. I mean, he has a pedigree. He played FBS football. I know it's just, does Barcelona have, the pieces around him that would allow him to win the MVP? Because at the end of the day, it's about the team that's like making it to the playoffs and running.
Correct.
That's why Adrian's such a mainstay as an MVP candidate. So that's going to be the tough one. But I think he's probably overall one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. So I'll be interested to watch him from the sideline for sure as well. So I guess those are probably the three that I'd put up there to start the season.
Yeah, I was really excited to see Levi Lewis sign with Barcelona. I enjoyed watching him in college. I have a tendency to watch a lot of the mid majors, even though I'm an FSU fan. Like I watch a lot of the mid majors and the FCS schools, and I got the pleasure to seeing you play in college, so that was always fun. So I mean, I was happy to see him. I would put him in that category as well as one of the top three, in my opinion. That removing Jadrian from the conversation as well, just because I mean, you'd have to say I think everybody would have to say Jadrian's probably going to be the front runner preseason just because of what happened last year. So, that I think that's just a common,
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Edwards too. If Paris can get their offensive line situation, I think Zach Evans can return to form too, because that was really what his Achilles heel last year was that offensive line was dreadful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know they did make some critical signings on the offensive line. We'll see if they mesh as a group, and that conference in general. The Western Conference is just a crapshoot every year. Like it's the Rhine Fire, and then you got Hamburg, and now the Bravos, and the Bravos pretty much took the entire Spain national team on and put them on the field now this year. So
Yep.
I think it's gonna be a tough conference for them. Zach is, of course, one of the greatest ELF quarterbacks. He's been here since the beginning, so they don't call him Magic Zach for no reason. He makes just crazy plays all over the field. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, the dude just has it. He has the it factor. So it definitely should be up there as well.
All right. Prediction time. Now you have a little write up for each quarterback. You said right that's playing. This weekend.
Just a little bit of an insight for the viewers. Like I know some of these names probably aren't going to be like very recognized before the season, so I just wanted to make sure I did my part to let everybody know like who was playing for who and give them recognition, because like I said, some of these teams just don't get the same recognition that others do. So I mean, I just want to give everybody that fair viewership.
Hey, I love it. And I'm going to butcher the first game. I know it's the Vienna Vikings at the VFR Enthroners. I'm pretty sure I screwed that up. I'm pretty sure I did, but
yeah, I just call them the Enthroners. We play them twice this year, so they're the Enthroners to me. I don't want to disrespect anybody and mess that name up. So it's just going to be the Enthroners. So yeah, if you want to give your prediction first, I can follow you up if you'd like, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I mean I just have Vienna winning this. The Enthroners last year went through some turmoil. I actually ended up interviewing Kevin Doyle Jr. I think he was with them. For a brief period of time. He told me how to say it, and I completely forgot. So I just don't know what the Enthroners are gonna, overall. I don't know what the improvements are like. I do expect an improvement. They brought in Jake Mangel, and I mean, I just don't know where the team is overall, because it was a fairly new startup, and they seemed like that they were struggling with the curve. But it's also Vienna, so I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about one of the top teams in the league. So it may be a rough opening, week for the Enthroners, but I just want to see improvement from them, and I hope we do this year.
For sure. We got a score prediction for us?
It's so hard in the ELF.
It's especially week 1, too.
Yeah. I'm going to say Vienna will probably put up plus 40, so I'll say 43 and to 18. We'll say 43 to 18.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I got the Vikings winning. I talked about Ben Holmes already. He won LSC Player of the Year, Offense Player of the Year, USFL, CFL. They just got their tight end back as well from the IPP. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I do know he's a very, very good player. Jack Mangle, coming from Concord University, he put up some great numbers over there. He was a Dan Henson All-American, honorable mention All-American, 6,379 career passing yards, 48 touchdowns. There is a little bit of a concern with the touchdown to INT ratio, I will say. It's 48 to 37. So yeah, I know I've heard some concern about it, but his tape looks great. He's got a great arm, great accuracy. But yeah, that is a little bit of a concern that's been raised with him. I'm sure he'll do just fine though. He's got Nathaniel Robitaille coming over from the Rhine Fire. That's a great receiver. I know he's kind of
awesome.
He's been in Europe for a long time, so I know some people are wondering. And he's coming off of a major injury as well. I know he played in the championship game, but still, like, a major injury is a major injury. I'm sure he'll just come back better than ever. But yeah, I got Vikings over the Enthroners, 38-14.
38-14, okay. Yeah. Yeah, the Enthroners definitely, they improved as the year went on last year, and then they had a couple, things kind of fell apart for them a little bit. But I just want to see improvement from any of these teams, and I think that we will. Unfortunately, there's always a team that has to be at the bottom and a team that are at the top. And until Vienna is knocked off the top, they're going to be near the top for sure.
The Enthroners did go an interesting route on defense. They went 2 American D linemen, and it's very interesting. I've seen 1 defensive lineman and 1 DB before. Berlin, they have Kyle Kitchens, and then they went American DB, but I've never seen 2 defensive linemen. I think their goal is to just, pass rush, try to get after the quarterback, make it a long day. So we'll see how that works out for them. Maybe that's a new trend for the ELF, but
great thing about defense is a great pass rush can mask a questionable secondary, and a great secondary can mask a questionable pass rush. So maybe they just wanted to take the different approach and see if they can just put pressure on people. So that will be very interesting to see.
Very, very interesting. I agree.
The second game on the card is Levi Lewis's Barcelona Dragons, as they take on the rebranded Helvetic Mercenaries, who brought in, I don't remember off the top of my head. Carlton Aiken. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Carlton Aiken has been around for a little bit too. He played a little bit last year. He came in for an injured player. He's very much a do-it-all kind of guy. I like that. He's athletic. Questionable decisions at times for me, but I don't know how much of that is just the play around him and he wasn't familiar with the system. So I'm very interested to see him get a start right from the start of the season. Barcelona was interesting last year because they were, I don't even know what it was. They were played really well with Connor Miller at the start of the year, and then Connor Miller got hurt. And then it kind of fell off the rails for them. They lost a lot of close games after that. So I'm going to say Barcelona. I think Levi Lewis is going to be an X factor in this game, because I don't really know the dynamics of this team yet, having not seen it, especially with the Mercenaries rebrand. And I'm going to say this game will probably be close, though. And I'm going to say 27-24 Barcelona.
That's a good prediction right there. I'm going to have to definitely piggyback off you on that one with the Barcelona prediction. We talked about Levi Lewis already with the MVP, preseason kind of candidate or whatever. He was most recently with the Rough Riders, I believe, and the Seahawks before that out of college. I don't think he saw much time or any time with the Rough Riders last year during the CFL, but he's a dynamic playmaker. He can run, he can pass, he can do it all, and he's a winner. So that's the big thing for them. My question still remains the same. The Dragons just lost so much to Madrid this year. It was kind of tough to watch on social media. Just Madrid continuing to add more and more ex-Barcelona players. So it's a question of if there's enough around him. And I'll be interested to see how it plays out. I know they've got talent. They brought in a receiver from Northwest Missouri. He spent some time with the Sea Dragons, I believe, in their training camp. I don't believe there's anywhere after that. I could be wrong, but that's the last I saw. As for the Mercenaries, their whole offseason in general was just all over the place.
It was.
The rebrand, the guards. I was kind of worried that Carlson, he was signed originally to the guards. I was kind of worried that he wouldn't get re-signed by the Mercenaries. I just know like that situation was kind of all over the place. But I'm glad that they brought him back, especially after the original signing. Pace University, All-American D2. Like you said, he did play for Barcelona last year after Connor Miller got hurt. So maybe we're looking at sort of a revenge game for him. I know it wasn't really the best experience. They lost a lot of close games, and I'm sure there was some issues as well. But I mean, maybe we're looking at a revenge game scenario from him. He's got great size. He's got mobility, cannon of an arm.
I was like, great arm.
Yeah, so I just with this whole game, there's just question marks all over the field on both sides. Like, what are we going to get out of the Mercenaries? I don't think they even have announced officially like their full roster, and they've only had I think 2 weeks of camp, something like that. So it's all over the place. But I got the Dragons pulling this one out in a close one, very similar to yours, 28-24.
Oh, that's a very good score. I like that one. And the last game on Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. my time, is the Raiders T-Roll against your Seaman, as a matter of fact, heading into Milan. I know you're probably not going to spend a ton of time talking, obviously, about yourself, but I am very interested to see how D'Angelo Fulford and you compete or look with each other's teams here, because the Raiders T-Roll, obviously, they had Sean Shelton, who was one of the top dogs for a long time. He was an icon or an idol for them for a long time. Mm-hmm. Christian Strong came in, took over last year. It did not work out for them. They moved on from him, which also resulted in I can't think of his name, but the receiver left as well. And now we're here with D'Angelo Fulford, who spent some time over here playing in some spring league over here, and you coming in for Milan, taking over for Zach. I personally don't have a full breakdown of the rosters in front of me, but going based off what I saw last year, T-Roll's defense was one of the better in the league. It was just the offense kind of seemed stagnant. Milano was really good offensively, not so good defensively. You have a little more insight as far as it comes to your team. If your team improved on the defensive side, you guys can be a formidable threat. I thought you guys were a formidable threat last year offensively when you guys got into shootouts. So I'm going to say you guys by a very close game. I feel like this is going to be hard hitting, but I feel like this might be higher scoring than most people expect. That's what I'm going to say. So I'm going to say 33-31. You guys edge it out.
Awesome. I mean, I don't want you to be biased or anything towards me, but that is awesome to hear.
That's not on a bias. I mean, I'm just kind of going based off last year and some of the signings that I have seen this year. Yeah. It's just this T-Roll team is really good. I mean, they definitely want excellence. They definitely want to put a good product on the field. There's no doubt about it. And I know that you guys do too, but I just feel like you guys are going to take that learning curve that you guys had last year. And really last year was just the defensive side of things, right? Yeah. You have a defensive head coach who's a defensive coordinator. So I think that you guys can rein that in a little bit, and I think that you guys will be okay. So I think this game's going to be a little more high scoring than people expect, but I think you guys are going to edge them in week one, definitely.
Gotcha. Yeah, I will say from our end, I'm not going to really talk too much about it. I don't want to give away too much, but
Yeah, for
whenever
sure.
I stepped over here, the defense, I know the situation from last year, it really caught me by surprise what Coach Ward has been able to do with them.
Mm.
And I'll say that having Zach Blair in the middle has freed up our other talent at linebacker to just play free. That was a big issue that I was hearing from last year is that there was talent, but I mean, putting the talent and the brains together as the Mike linebacker is a lot of stress. Like that's pretty much what I have to do. But just you have to do more hitting. But Zach Blair is a European legend, top 10 player in this league, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions. So having him there, he's on the same wavelength as Coach Ward. It's been really, really fun to compete against every day. D'Angelo Fulford, I mean, the dude was a Division III legend. Won the Stag Bowl with Mountain Union back in 2019. Since then, he's kind of bounced around in the spring league, CFL. He was with the BC Lions. He was in the spring league for the short time that was a thing. I know 23. I think he started the year with Bay Area Panthers and then finished the year with the Vegas Vipers. I don't know how much playing time he's got though since then. I know training camp was pretty much the BC Lions extent. We don't really have much film on him, so I will say that that's kind of something I not like. This isn't my opinion. This is just what I've been seeing online. Is like kind of like how long has it been since he's played, and how will that take effect when he steps on the field as the guy? Because I mean, being on teams and practicing and doing that stuff is a different level, and that's the same thing for me. I haven't played competitively since 22. So It's just kind of that sort of thing. But I mean, he's a extremely talented quarterback. He's mobile. He has a great arm. There's a reason why he's been all over the spring leagues at the highest level of levels. So I will say I'm very excited to watch him on Saturday. I think he's a great quarterback, and they've got two really good receivers that are going to help him out a lot. There has been a lot of turnover though in that Tyrol organization as a whole after the whole thing that happened last year. So
Right.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Fulford's kind of a wild card. I think he's probably one of the biggest wild cards out of all the quarterbacks that are signed this year. As far as like not, kind of hovering around places, but not having really a ton of playing time type of situation. Like,
Yeah.
So I think he's one of the bigger wild cards. I will spare you a score prediction on that one since you were playing in that one.
I'm going to leave my prediction at the table. It should be clear to everybody, though, what my prediction is. But, I mean, I'm not going to give a score or anything.
Alrighty. The first game on Sunday one of the first two games on Sunday is the Berlin Thunder against the Warclaw Panthers. The Thunder, they brought in Jacob Sullivan, who was with Frankfurt, I believe, last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Warclaw brought in Stephen Duncan. And I got the okay from Coach Christensen that the American version of pronouncing Warclaw is okay. So
Okay.
I had to ask because I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to butcher this. And he's like, well, it's the American version. You're fine. No problem. This game is going to come down if the Panthers can get their run game going. Like we talked a little bit about the running backs. If they can get their run game going, they should. I like Berlin, but I feel like if the run game gets going and Stephen Duncan is able to have this open up, even with the wide receiver change and Bender coming in, I think that Warclaw can control this game. I think that they can open it up on Berlin, and it may be a little bit of a biased pick just because I am a Warclaw fan, but I really like this team moving forward. We made the playoffs last year, but nobody expected us to, so I'm going to say Warclaw. I don't think they're going to be as high powered because I think they're going to be a ball control team. So I'm going to say 28-17. No, 28-18. 28-18. I like that score a little bit better.
28-18 Panthers. Gotcha.
Sam made your prediction for you, by the way, for your game. I'm just letting you know. I don't know if you saw that. So
11 touchdowns. Hey, don't forget about the dual threat ability, Sam. I know I didn't get to run too much my senior year, but we'll leave that off the table. That's still something that I give my offense whenever I see him. But we were playing the long game that year. But yeah, back to the Thunder Panthers game. I mean, Jacob Sullivan coming into the Thunder, one of the European goats in my opinion. He brought Frankfurt a championship game, like a championship. He's just a super dynamic playmaker. I believe he's just a smaller but quicker version of Zach Edwards and the sort of magic he can make on the field. Watching film on him playing against Milan last year, man, he was cutting it up sometimes whenever they played in Frankfurt. But I believe that he was banged up a little bit last year, missed some time, and that's something that you kind of see with quarterbacks that get hit a lot, especially in the leagues whenever it's starting new and the O line is kind of an issue, like just taking a lot of hits. So I'm interested to see how that Berlin O line holds up over the course of the year. For the Panthers, bringing in Steven Duncan, he put up insane numbers with Dresden last year over in the GFL. He's a huge quarterback, played at Tarleton whenever they were transferring from D2 to D1. I believe he played their shortened COVID year in 2020. And then 2021, I believe he played a few games, and then he transferred to Incarnate Word, where he sat behind their Lindsey Scott, who was, one of the best FCS quarterbacks ever. So he's a huge quarterback, huge arm. Big question for me is the O-line of the Panthers protecting him with Kyle Kitchens coming off the edge. Kyle Kitchens is going to come in there, pass rushing like crazy. I think the run game for the Panthers will be able to kind of eliminate that and not allow him to pass rush as much. But Steven, nothing against him. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He's a very good pocket passer. So I'm interested to see if Kyle Kitchens is able to wreak a little havoc, throughout the game, especially in passing situations. But I do think the two running backs, Steven Duncan connection there with their new receiver coming in after Matt Cole went down will be too much for the Thunder. I'm going Panthers 30-28.
So I had the pleasure of interviewing Kyle Kitchens last year too. He was the first non-quarterback that I actually got a chance to bring on to the summer showcase last year, and I love the guy to death. I wish him all the success except for this week. So all the success in the world.
He's up there with Zach Blair. I got biased, so I'm putting Zach Blair, the best American linebacker or defensive player over here. But Kyle Kitchens is a legend. He's done it all from Leipzig to Berlin. So yeah, that's a great matchup.
Three-time defensive player of the year, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. He's incredible. I'm just excited to see that huge fan turnout too. They've got Jan Blachowicz doing the big UFC fighter. He's doing like the coin toss or something for that game as well. So it's cool to see the community kind of rallying behind the Panthers now. So I'm excited. That'll be a great matchup for sure.
I just love to see the growth, man. It comes from all the teams. I love to see it across the board, man. It's just fun to watch. The other game that starts first thing Sunday morning, the Ryan Fire and Jadrian Kirk, coming off his MVP season, takes on the Cologne Centaurans, Centaurans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cologne had some issues last year. They struggled, and Isaiah Weed's a bit of an unknown to me. I'll be completely honest. I don't really know a ton about him. I know his name. You're going to educate me here in a minute. I'm going to learn something from you here in a second. But he's a bit of a wild card for me. And unfortunately for him and this team, they have to take on Ryan and coming off the championship run last year and the way that Jadrian played. This game could get ugly fast if Cologne can't find a way to get off the field on defense. That's going to be the key. But I don't think it's going to happen. We could see our first 60 burger.
60 burger, wow.
Yeah. I don't like predicting that high. Like when I did all of my predictions last year, I always predicted much lower, and then my predictions were nowhere close. So I'm going to be a little more aggressive with it this year. I hope not for Cologne's sake, because I hate as a player watching that happen to somebody, but or for the players, I should say. But this Rhine team is going to be rolling until they're not, and I'll be a little more conservative. I'll say 54-17.
17. Okay. Gotcha. 54-17. Yeah, I mean, like I said before we started going into the prediction show, it's Fire getting chased by everybody. Jadrian is going to come in. He's going to be the MVP candidate, #1 to start the year. I mean, Glenn Tunga, he's a legend of European football. He's one of the best, if not the best, running backs in all of Europe. Kofi on the outside. I can't remember who their American receiver is this year, but I mean, I'm sure he's a stud. They've just got a great system going on over there. For Isaiah Weed, he is a D2 guy. He played at Northwestern Oklahoma State over there in the Great American Conference. He was in the GFL 2 last year, so not the GFL 1, the GFL 2.
Okay.
And now he's making the jump up to the ELF for the Centurions and possibly the hardest conference. I mean, it's an even league, but that conference is the standard barrier of the league. And that's a big jump going from GFL 2 to the Western Conference of the ELF. I know last year the Centurions did have a very solid defense. They just didn't get to show it much because they had so many issues going on the offensive side. I've heard all about it from Zach Blair. So I'm going to have to definitely I'm going with the Fire as well. 48-10. I do think Isaiah Weed, he is a dual threat. He's very quick. He's a little bit on the smaller side. But I do think that his dual threat ability does make some plays for them on Sunday. So, but yeah, Fire 48-10.
Yeah, they're going to need to rely on his dual threat ability then if they have the same kind of struggles they did last year, because sometimes a great defense and a good defense is only a matter of how good your offense is.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, for Jadrian, I mean, it's incredible the amount of time he has back there behind clearly the best offensive line in Europe. I mean, it's insane. There's times last year he had 10 seconds of just standing in the pocket. So, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's incredible the things you can do whenever you're standing back there for an entire play clock almost.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, they've lost some pieces. That's what happens when you win the championship. Everybody just kind of comes and tries to pick pieces from the team to bring over to them. But like I said, I think it's the Fire and then everybody else just chasing behind them for right now. We'll see how the season plays out.
I'm also a huge Kofi fan too, so he's one of my favorite players in the league at the non-quarterback position. The game after that's the Hamburg Sea Devils, who I believe brought in Javarian Smith, and the rebranded Prague Lions, who brought in Kari Lyles. I believe that's how we pronounce his first name, is Kari Lyles. To be honest with you, this is another situation where I don't know a ton about each quarterback. I know some.
Yeah.
Neither one of the guys that I know, like I can recite, statistics or where they played off the top of my head, but I do know a little bit of each one. I do like Javarian Smith. Hamburg was an interesting team last year because I felt like outside of like a couple games, they were never out of a game. Right? I felt like that they were in a game at every give and take. Now, I don't know what their offseason looked like too much. I did not see a ton of what they did. And Prague obviously had a lot of issues last year and a ton of issues. So I can't base it off what they did last year. I do love the rebrand and I do love the new colors and the new logo. I do like that. I don't want to do it too much of a curve, but I'm going to give Hamburg the victory here. I don't know what to expect from either team outside of, just going off of last year, and I feel like that's unfair to Prague. So I'm going to say 24-19 Hamburg.
Okay, so a good game though.
I'm hoping so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Javarian, he's coming from the Comets of GFL 1 last year. That's where he was at. Tore it up. I'm not taking this away from any of the GFL guys. I think they're all great quarterbacks, but watching the film, sometimes it looks like they're just throwing on air. The defenses in the GFL are notoriously for not being that great. Javarian, with that being said, put up some dumb numbers last year, throwing for like 500 yards in a game or something like that. He's a dual threat guy as well, coming from Lake Erie College, Division II. The guy who actually played at Angelo the year after me came from Lake Erie for the 1 year. He was just a grad transfer in. I think the X factor for the Sea Devils on offense, though, is going to be Jarvis McClam coming over from the Raiders.
That's what I was thinking of earlier.
Yep. Coming over from the Raiders after the hilly, mountainous year that it was last year, where they were only 2 losses, 6-2, I think, before everything went down.
Yep.
He showed that he's one of the best players in the league, just all over the field, slot, running back, wide out, return man. He can do it all. So I think that's going to be the X factor for the Sea Devils on offense. They lost so much on defense. The whole D line is almost brand new. And that was a very strong point for them. So I don't know what to expect out of their defense. The Lions, of course, though, I mean, they're the very controversial year last year. They did bring in Devontae Parker, NFL receiver, as a part owner to kind of help with the funding of things. And I believe their ownership group kind of got things together there for this year. Another notorious name, Clark Hazlitt. He goes by Adventure Athlete on YouTube. Yep. He's the quarterback coach for them this year. And I don't know if he's over there as an emergency quarterback or not. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if, injury bug hit or something like that throughout the year, that maybe we see Clark suit up for the Lions at one point. But I don't wish that upon Lyles at all. He's from Southern Illinois and then transferred to Jackson State, where he was behind Shador. I don't know what the depth chart was like with him and Matthew Vitale. I don't know who was 2 and 3, whatever. I mean, they're both on the team, though, at the same time. And then last year played for the New Yorker Lions. New Yorker Lions are one of the more, proud organizations in Germany for the GFL. He's got a great arm. I saw him launching some 60, 65-yard bombs on film. So he does have a great arm. For them, they did bring in the Alabama safety. I think Daniel Wright is his name. So that was a huge blockbuster signing. He was actually the starting safety for Alabama when they won the national championship in 2020.
That's huge.
So that was a huge signing for them. I believe he played training camp, of course, in the NFL, and then I think he was in Canada or maybe XFL, one of the two, before coming over here. I think the matchup between Jarvis and Wright is going to be an outstanding matchup. I'm very excited to see that. I know Jarvis comes from maybe a little bit smaller of a school, and he's been on the the Euro tour playing all over Europe. So he might come into that game with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and say, I really want to show what I'm about against this Alabama safety.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going controversial here. Javarian, and if you hear this, I'm sorry, but I'm going Lions.
Okay.
31-24, setting the new year off with a bang. I think that'll be a very, very good game. Javarian is a great quarterback, so this is nothing on him. Their defense is just kind of up in the air. Maybe they go prove me wrong, and they're one of the best teams in the West. But, yeah, I'm going controversial. I'm going Lions, 31-24.
Well, maybe that game will turn into a shootout. If it does, then Hamburg will win most likely, for sure. I love Jarvis McClam, so I'm glad that he's back in the league, and it'll be fun to watch him.
Yep.
For sure. The Munich Ravens and the Stuttgart Surge will close out week 1. The Ravens, very similar. Chad Jeffries and Markel Castle last year lit it up for them on offense. The defense, they were very similar to you guys, struggled a lot in a sense. Meanwhile, the Stuttgart Surge, offensively, they looked really good. And I mean, they looked okay. I don't want to say okay. They looked good, not great, but their defense was sensational. Stuttgart had one of the best defenses in the league last year. They had a letdown, though, against the Enthroners, I think, mid-season, and lost a weird game to them for some reason.
They lost to the Guards, too.
It was the Guards.
End of the year.
It was the Guards, yeah. A very strange game. They lost that game to the Guards, but they bring back Riley Hennessy. So these two teams return their quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm going to keep this prediction fairly short just because of the fact that I feel like the Ravens improved on defense, and I think the Surge should hopefully have another defensive team to put out on the field because I like watching a really good defense. I think this game could go either one of two ways. If it's a defensive game, I think the Surge win. If it's an offensive game, I think the Ravens win. So naturally, I'm going to pick somewhere in the middle and hope that I'm correct. But I'm going to say 24-20, and I'm going to give it to the Surge because I think defensively maybe they just have enough.
Yeah. Chad Jeffries, Azusa Pacific grad. He's been in Europe for a long time. He's an outstanding quarterback. My question mark with their offense coming into this year is they're losing Markel Castle. That's huge.
Yes, it's huge.
Offensive player of the year. Do they have the receivers to stretch that Surge secondary? They brought in I can't remember his name. Cole, I think. They brought he was playing in Germany last year.
I saw it. I'm drawing a blank though too.
Yeah, I apologize if I'm losing it, but I'm just interested to see if they can stretch that Surge secondary enough to open things up. They have one of the better running games in the ELF as well. And they have Joe Thomas coaching up the O-line, so that they can make a case for O-line of the year right there. Riley Hennessy, the big thing for the Surge is keeping him healthy this year. When Riley was on the field for them, they were a top team in the league. When they had to go to second, third string quarterbacks, things got iffy there for a little bit. So big thing for them is keeping him healthy. They had one of the best off seasons though of any organization. I think they have 4 or 5 import players, like level players on their defensive secondary. I know they brought in a safety. He's German, but he played at Oregon for the past 4 years. They brought a guy from the Centurions. He's from the UK. He played for Centurions last year. He was a very solid player as well. They just got such a good defense. And I really think that they made it to the championship last year, and they felt that, and they felt like they had what it took to, win it. So they have a championship mindset this year and are coming in with, aspirations to take it all home this year. They got a 3-headed monster at receiver. I'm going Surge on this one, 28-24. I think it's going to be the game of the week by far.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a good score prediction by you. You stayed right near me. I like that. I like that. Oh man. All right, Zach. So hey, listen, I'm going to wrap this up. This has been fun. Summer Showcase overtime. I'm going to be Zach. Zach's going to come back. He's going to, he's my co-host for the show. So this will be, done every Wednesday at some point in time. We'll figure out when it's going to air, but it'll be Wednesday at some point in time for sure. Zach, I'll obviously see you at 6:00 every Wednesday moving forward. I don't have anything else, Zach. I'll go ahead if you want to take the floor just for a half a second and shout anybody out, shout anything out, or if you just want to wrap this up, man, you're more than welcome.
No, I'm just excited to talk ELF and bring exposure to this league. I think we're in for an outstanding year. I'm just excited to be helping the expansion of American football across the world.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited to do this with you every Wednesday.
Absolutely. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button to the Shady Sports Network. Again, shout out to Sam for everything he's done, the cool new little logo that we have now, and the awesome intro that we have as well. I have a quick commercial to play here from our sponsor.
This is Current. It's the card my parents used to pay me for mowing the lawn, running errands, and doing well in school.
Oh, wow.
This is the card I used when we got the idea to make our own clothes. And we spread the word, drove downtown, and sold everything we made. This is the card I use to do the things that really matter. This is Current. Visit Current.com and download the app for free today.